Yo, what's poppin', everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Zach Lesage here. Today we're going to be covering over Tord's new Charizard deck that he played at Worlds to a 10th place finish in Honolulu. I'm going to be covering over the deck list, my thoughts, maybe explaining some of the more interesting cards in the deck. If I miss anything, let me know in the comments and I'll totally try to answer your questions the best I possibly can. But otherwise, it's really all about Tord and his Charizard deck that he played at Worlds. Covered in this video is going to be the deck list, the strategy, and some gameplay. I'll also give my opinion on the deck list by the end of it. If you want to see your deck featured or another deck featured, let me know. Try to be a little bit more open on the channel now that we've covered most of the big decks in Shrouded Fable. Don't go too rogue, but also don't necessarily be like, have you covered Raging Bull when we've covered a billion Raging Bull videos? You know what I'm saying? List is available in the description if you want to copy and paste it. Be like Tord on PTCG Live. And if you need any other cards for these decks or any decks featured on the channel, be sure to check out our sponsors at Kayfabe Cards, GameStop, the Shuffle Squad website, and PTCGL store, along with discount codes in the description. Let's go ahead and jump into this deck list. So here we have it, another Tord Reklev chefed up creation. Now, Tord is no stranger to Charizard decks. I think he's actually probably favored Charizard decks between his EUIC run, NAIC run, and Worlds run. Now, what makes this deck a little bit different than a traditional Charizard deck, and I'm probably going to dive into this a little bit more than I regularly do, is the Charizard line is a little bit thinned down compared to normal. We're running a 2-1-2 line. We're also running a Pidgeotto. So the core strategy of this deck is going to differ from a typical Charizard deck. You still want to go second, but we're aiming to use that technical machine evolution that we can search through with Arvin, and utilizing that on our first turn of the game when we go second. That allows us to either get set up with a Rabska against a matchup that's going to be doing any kind of damage spreading or damage counters. And we can get out things like Charmeleon or Pidgeotto or Bibarel or whatever we decide to choose for each individual matchup. A lot of matchups in this format, we might not necessarily want to put a two-prizer out before our opponent does, such as Pidgeotto, so sometimes having Bibarel as an option makes a lot of sense. We do have some sneaky cards, such as Thornton, so we can kind of get a Rabska out of nowhere, or we can get set up out of nowhere when we otherwise didn't have options. When there's cards like Pheasantipity available in play, or just in this deck, we have options to go Thornton, turn it into a Pheasantipity, or turn something into a Radzard, or just take a two-prizer off the field. There are some other techs that are more meta kind of reliant, such as having Canceling Cologne for kind of any Gardevoir matchup, or any kind of Iron Thorns matchup mainly, and of course having Temple of Sinnoh for those Lugia matchups. I think that the deck is relatively normal beyond that. We're just trying to be, again, a pretty aggressive Charizard deck that can get some things back. And instead of going with those extra Charmanders, we've instead gone for heavy balls, and we fit in some really cool tech cards. I'm going to play some games with this deck, and I'll give you my honest opinion by the end of it. But it's really hard not to trust Tord with some of his deck lists being one of the most inventive deck builders, either going for these abstract lists or just going for core consistent decks together. Tord's arguably the GOAT of Pokemon. So let me know what you think about this deck in the comments. Let me know if you think this deck is good or not, if you think Tord's the GOAT or not. Let's spark a discussion. Let's jump into that gameplay. Okay, so we're gonna call the coin flip, and I think we called it right. We don't want to go first. I'm not gonna lie, this is probably like the 5th game in a row where I've played, and I'm hoping that this is going to be a fair start for us. And I mean, I feel like this Bidoof is actually like low-key killing me with the double retreats, because I'm just not able to retreat into a Cleffa turn 1 when I'm dealing with a hand like this. So that's okay. We will see our best, and we will try to top deck out of this. But right now it's we'll see how this ends up going. So it looks like we're playing against probably some kind of control deck. Tord does have a few answers in the form of Turo, Thornton, Canceling Cologne. Yeah, looks like we're playing against Block, and we'll see how it plays out. I think that's one of those things where it's like, that's all I really can do, is see how it plays out. I think there's a few options, like having the double turbo energy that could be really cool. But let's get set up and see how it plays out. So let's go. I think Buddy Poffin is definitely going to be one of those pieces that I'm looking for. And I don't want to put Cleffa down because Cleffa sounds like a really, really, really bad time. So let's go Charmander, and I think I'm going to go Charmander. This is going to allow me to maybe do some cool stuff, and we're going to put those down. And let's slap on a Fire Energy. I'm not going to do anything else, and we'll kind of play through this. Because as much as it's like we could have played through a normal matchup, Snorlax or Iron Thorns, those are normal matchups. They are two top 10 decks. And I think for us, our opponent's going to take away Super Rod Rare Candy here. I don't see a world where they'd ever take away Counter Catcher. And we're just getting hit with a Fade. So we'll try to play through this situation the best we possibly can. Maybe having a Charizard, maybe having whatever. We'll have a few options. Nothing that we can do except maybe evolve Charmeleon, and we're gonna pass. We do have to be careful about having this Charmeleon in play, just because this Charmeleon could potentially offer a situation where we can attack against a Mimikyu. We also have Canceling Clone, so we need to have that for Cornerstone and other things. So far we've already like lost some of our pieces, like both Rare Candy and Super Rod are both incredibly good outs. Not playing Dusknoir can be a little bit tough. We're gonna have to see how this plays out for us. But there's a world where maybe we could just get Canceling Clone and our opponent doesn't realize that and we're able to get a knockout here. I do like if you play Canceling Clone to play Silene to get back some of your resources in these matchups, but we'll have to we'll see how it plays out. I'd like to start using Rollout on our opponents to put them in a tough spot, or a more difficult spot, I should say. So we'll try our best here. They're gonna put that away, draw 3 cards, and we can always go Boss, Knockout, Rotom if we're ever able to do that. We're only hitting for 180 when it comes to the Rotom, so keep that in mind. Now we do have Ultra Ball. It's kind of a tough choice when it comes down to it. I don't think Defiance or Counter Catcher are ever going to see any kind of play. We could go Bib and start attacking into with Bib, especially when we have something like the Double Turbo available in deck. So let's start drawing some cards and seeing if we're able to do anything. I'm trying to go full in, drawing as many cards as possible. So let's go for Industrial Incisors and see what we're able to do here. Now, we are potentially able to start attacking by evolving into a Charizard. That wouldn't be terrible because we could just start using Tail Smash. Tail Smash can go through their entire board. And I mean, I don't hate it. We could go Turo if we ever need to. So to me, I think this really sounds like our best bets right now. So let's go ahead, Infernal Rain. We're gonna go Fire, Fire. And I'm just gonna start attacking into my opponent's Pokemon. So let's go Tail Smash, and hopefully we're able to get some heads. So Bibarel, as much as it's a draw engine, can definitely be an attacker when it comes to these situations, especially when our opponent has something as easy as Snorlax out in play. We might not always get heads, but we certainly have time on our side. So if our opponent doesn't really do anything, we can use Bibarel a few times. And if they're not able to time their things correctly, we could potentially start drawing some prize cards here. So they're going to go Accompanying Flutes. Unfortunately, they got a Cleffa in play, but we could Thornton that from something else. So you got to keep in mind that Ultra Ball, getting cards from our discard pile, can be quite good. Really praying that Misfortune Sisters doesn't hurt us too bad. Nothing crazy here, that's fine. And there's their instant charge. Do I think it's worthwhile for us to put another Pokemon in play? I think it could be. I mean, Pidgeot can really search out whatever we really want, so I could put the Pidgey down. And I don't really see a world where I want to draw more cards. We got to be careful with the amount of energies that we're playing down because we do have limited resources. So I'm just going to go ahead and just go Tail Smash, hopefully getting a heads. Tails, that's fine. Sometimes you will run into these situations when it comes down to it. So, I mean, it's not ideal to be attacking here with Bibarel. I'd like to have something a little bit more stable, but there's really not too much that I can do when it comes to this matchup. I can only try to prevent them from blocking up my Cleffa. And then maybe using Cleffa around. Like, we have very few resources that could work when it comes down to it. I'm just going to double check the list here to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Yeah, there is a pal pad, so we have both Thornton and Turo to kind of go through these pieces. We can definitely like just attack here. I'm going to evolve for here so we can at least search out some other pieces. If we get out that Pidgeotto, and let's go Tail Smash. There's 100, and we're putting our opponent in a situation where we're just Tail Smash, Tail Smash, Tail Smash, Tail Smash, which can be quite good for us. I mean, if there's anything particularly that we're looking for, like, I'm not going to go ahead and like Turo things up. I'm not going to start doing anything like that. It's better to be kind of like reactive in these situations than to forcefully go through any kind of particular anything. Arven's not going to really help us because we can only get a Technical Machine Evolution, but it can allow us to search out things like Super Rod, like our second copy of Super Rod, or maybe even a Canceling Clone or a Pal Pad. I think what I'd like to do is ideally hold on to this Ultra Ball. There's not really much that I'm searching for at this time. I'd really just like to go for Tail Smash. Another cool thing that you could be doing is attacking with Rellor to go behind on prize cards here. So we're 2-2 when it comes to heads, tails. But I'm not upset with the Bibarel taking things away right now. I think I'm generally okay with how this is playing out. And I don't want to retreat. I don't want to really like lose any opportunities. I just really want to kind of start attacking with Tail Smash here. And so far, like, so good. We can also put Squava down in play if we really need to. There's a heads, and we will take the first prize card of the game. Now, there's a Buddy Poffin. We can see like what we have left here. So far, like, I mean, nothing crazy. We can always discard things and try to get at the active spot and stuff like that. This is definitely just going to bring up Cleffa because Cleffa can attack. That's their main strategy of their deck. So they block and they eventually want to deck us out by taking away our resources. This is probably where I'm going to go for a... well, Thornton wouldn't be too bad. If I could ever... The question that I have here is I think I have to go for Arven to search my deck for my other Ultra Ball. I don't care about the Forest Sealstone because, yeah. Do I have a Rellor here? Yeah, I'm probably just going to use Rellor's Slight Intrusion to use Thornton next turn. So let's go Arven, searching our deck for an Ultra Ball. The reason why I'm searching for an Ultra Ball with Arven and not just using it right away is I wanted to double check my prize check. So I'm going to go pitch, search my deck for a Rellor. So I want to get the Rellor in the discard pile for Thornton purposes. Now I'm going to go Ultra Ball away, Rellor, Buddy Poffin, searching my deck for a Pidgeotto. Sorry, not Pidgeotto, Pidgeots. And at this point, I now have opportunities to attack into our opponent's Pokemon. We can't retreat here. But I do think it could be worthwhile to just use Industrial and Scissors, getting a couple cards. And I don't really care about Temple. I just want to use Thornton next turn. So we've accomplished the Rellor in our discard pile in order to start attacking our opponents. And I mean, look, I could use a Turo or something like that. I'd rather put myself in a situation where Rellor can apply pressure and offer up a prize card to our opponent so that they're not so like heavily counter catchered. And I think this is really where our gameplay is going to revolve around things. Our opponent has a big hand, but like, what are they really trying to do here? Like, they could play Misfortune Sisters is probably their best play. Hero's Cape is fine. I don't think I'm really worried about that. I wasn't really planning on knocking out Snorlax this turn. Again, we're planning for Thornton. Again, choose a basic Pokemon in your discard pile and switch it with one of your basic Pokemon in play. So we're just going to go ahead and go Thornton on Cleffa. And we're going to start attacking with Slight Intrusion. And I don't want to search for anything because they could just, again, use that information, eerie us. I'd rather them have to randomly get it. If they do end up getting anything, it could be quite tough, but we will go Slight Intrusion. At some point, they will either heal, and we will eventually knock ourselves out. If they bring up Pidgeot, I'm just going to attack with Pidgeot. If they bring up anything like Mimikyu or Cornerstone, I'm going to retreat into Bibarel. And then I'm kind of at a point where I'm just fine to go through the entire motions of this deck. So we're going to go here and we're going to attack with Slight Intrusion. So we have answers pretty much for every single Pokemon that they can throw at us. And we are going to be forcing our opponent to draw a prize card, which not only is going to shut off their counter catcher, we are applying pressure with damage counters, basically ruining their Hero's Cape. We're also increasing the potential damage of Burning Darkness. The only thing that I'd much rather is if we had a double turbo instead of these 2 fires, but we will end up working with it at some point if we are able to play our other Super Rod. Go Slight Intrusion. And I mean, maybe I could go ahead and go Turo. I think I'd rather keep my options on board. Pokemon's making this incredibly confusing. I think it shows 40 damage, but like I don't know why it's showing the 40 over the arrow, which is quite difficult for us to like kind of deal with. So they're gonna go Penny, just healing their Pokemon. That's fine. I think at this point I'm still fine to go Slight Intrusion again offering that prize card up to our opponents. And they're just gonna slap on Hero's Cape on one of their Pokemon, whichever one they deem fit, and we can just start attacking into them. I think that seems incredibly fair. There's our counter catcher. Probably gonna bring up the Charizard. Pidgeot's fine. Probably just gonna start attacking with Pidgeot, to be honest. Sure, that's fine. And we're gonna go ahead and search our deck for the double turbo energy. So we have that. I believe we have the double turbo in the deck. If we didn't, it's gonna be a rough time. This is gonna allow us to use Blustery Winds. We don't want to discard the Stadium in play, so let's go ahead and Blustery Winds, because I like having a smaller bench so our opponent can't really accompany flutes. I'm also, for that same reason, I'm not going to play Temple of Sinnoh because it's allowing us to do 100 damage per turn. So now our opponent, after using 2 of their counter catchers, they're going to have to decide, do we bring up the Rellor so it gets knocked out? There's a Temple of Sinnoh, so this is going to be quite annoying for us. Really nothing that we can do. We did prize a Fire Energy. So we just really have to find another way to attack or getting back one of our other Pokemon. I mean, Cologne here could be quite beneficial, but I don't really want to risk that. There's nothing that I could really boss up, so we're kind of stuck to Turo up a Pokemon and play Super Rod, or because we can't Thornton this Pidgey, I'd like to start attacking with Pidgeot a little bit more. So if I use Thornton, I can have access to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. We're already doing 210. I'd really like to just attack here, and I'm fine getting rid of the double turbo. We can't discard our own Stadium. We have no other way to discard our Stadium. So at this point, I'm gonna go quick search my deck for a copy of Palpad. And I'm gonna go ahead and play the Turo. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to discard all the cards attached, but we are going to be offering up our opponent another prize card. So let's go ahead and go. Turo goes here onto our Pidgeot. We're going to be able to put Rellor there. We're able to go this. We're able to go Palpad, putting back up our copy of Thornton and Turo. And I'm able to attack with Slight Intrusion, sending up my Bibarel. There is a world where we are able to potentially attack and win the game next turn. We'll kind of go over that eventually, but I'd rather be able to do 210 than not. And we're going to give our opponent up this prize card. Since we've drawn another prize card, Counter Catcher is going to be reactivated, but that's completely fine for us. Not sure what our opponent's doing here. They're probably wondering why they're being forced to draw a prize card, but we had Rellor that knocked itself out. Maybe we'll draw one of our fire energies, would actually be quite beneficial towards us. Just getting another energy back. Not a fire energy, and it's fine. I'm just gonna send up Bibarel here, so that if our opponent has to bring up anything, they're just gonna have to take it away. If worse comes to worse, I can always take away one of our other Pokemon by transforming it. But like, we've gone through a decent bit of our opponent's resources so far. I'm just really hoping that our opponent doesn't do too much. If they don't put another Pokemon down, or if we're able to get a Tail Smash in, there is a chance that, like, again, we can run our opponent out of resources. Because I'm assuming they think that this Charizard's not attacking, that we don't play Canceling Clone. But so far, like, we're really, like, running out of resources here. Like, our opponent taking a Super Rod early is killed half our chances of getting back into the game. And that's fine. But at least we're showing some, like, cool techniques in this deck and some ways to potentially go through this situation. Okay, so since our opponent's not really doing anything, I might as well evolve our Pidgey into a Pidgeotto. And, like, I really want to just go Super Rod. Super Rod Canceling Clone wins the game if we do any kind of damage to our opponent's active. So that's our game plan right now. We're just going to go Tail Smash, and hopefully we're able to get ahead so we can put ourselves in that situation. Tails. So every single time we got Tails, it just adds an additional extra turn. We need at least 2 turns to win this game because we don't have any way to take care of that Hero's Cape. And we're really just trying to wait out our opponent for everything that they have. They might just be inactive at this point. I'm not sure what happened when they didn't draw a prize card, but we are in a very good point to potentially just win this game. So we'll try our best here. I wish that Thornton could actually transform something like a Bib into a Rellor, but we just don't really have that as an option right now. Using Rellor a few times to just, like, make our opponent draw an additional prize card could eventually lead us to being able to attack with Radiant Charizard or some of their other interesting Pokemon. Our game plan right now, even if this game ends and our opponent's just, like, too inactive, was going to be attacking for the Tail Smash, reaching heads. That's going to do 100 damage to our opponent, bringing them down to 150, aka less than 210 damage. At that point, we could play Canceling Cologne, so we are allowed to retreat under block, retreat our Bibarel, use Arven, search our deck for Super Rod back in those 2 fires, and we're able to go Rare Candy, Charizard, search those 2 fires, knockouts. So that's going to be our gameplay, but it just didn't end up working out the way that we wanted it to. Still, we were able to get past it, and I'll close things out and give my thoughts on the deck in a minute. So I know Snorlax gameplay isn't everyone's exact favorite, but I do think it's cool to showcase these decks from time to time and showcase these matchups because it does give you a different perspective. And I mean, Tord gets streamed at every event that he pretty much goes to. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the deck, be sure to check out the official Pokemon World stream. You can also catch my Day 2 game that I lost my winning into top 8. My thoughts on this deck are, I don't know if PTCG Live is really just screwing with me. After my recent update, I feel like it's not, I don't know if I'm necessarily getting terrible hands, but it just feels like everything is worse or improperly shuffled. I haven't really got too many playable hands when it comes to this deck, and I don't know if that's a fault of PTCG Live, a fault of my own for not necessarily understanding this deck the best that I possibly could, which I don't really see that being an issue considering Charizard was my #1 deck last season in terms of championship points earned. Or I'm not really a fan of how this deck is built. I'd say that I think this deck is probably going to be close to a I'm gonna give it a 5.5 out of 10, not in terms of what it's placed, but just in terms of, like, I think how the deck generally gels together. I don't think it's a bad deck. I think it might be misunderstood, but my current take on it after playing with this deck for a few hours, there's a lot of gameplay footage that I'm just not going to showcase because it was completely unusable. Starting with Bidoof not being able to retreat, not being able to use Cleffa, not being able to do anything. Bidoof pass, lose, stuff like that. That's really caused me there, and I'm not exaggerating. I thought this video was going to take me 30 minutes, and I might have messed up my schedule for the rest of the day. If you've played this deck, let me know. Otherwise, that's my opinion on it, and I'm entitled to it. Maybe Tord did it better. Maybe he's just the GOAT, or maybe this deck just doesn't fry as much as possible. For me, I've been a big fan of the Pedro Pertusi and William Azevedo lists when it comes down to it. So if you're looking for any lists, check out the World's Deck list on the Limitless TCG website. Other than that, stay tuned for more great content this week. Not every single deck I'm gonna love, and that's fine. I'm entitled to my own opinion. Don't eat me alive in the comments. But otherwise, I will catch up with all y'all later. Peace out and have a great one. Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes. You made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching this entire video from the Shuffle Squad. Honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate each and every person that supports our content, watches what we have going on every single day, every single week, even from time to time, and continuously allows us to have a forum to project our creative content towards the Pokemon TCG community. So if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and even leave a comment to help boost the YouTube algorithm. That being said, we'll catch you with our next video. Thanks again. Take it easy.